Okay, welcome everyone. Good to see you on this beautiful spring day here on this equinox in the northern and southern hemispheres. So we've got just under an hour and a half together. Thank you for attending live and welcome anybody that's watching the recording. Hopefully you've got a comfy spot, something nice to drink, a journal in case you might like to make any notes. We're just going to take a little moment to settle. So if you were willing to close your eyes or lower your gaze and just allow your body to catch up with this moment. Perhaps you've had a rush to get here or 10 million things on your to-do list. So let's just see if we can really allow ourselves to be present and be nourished and regulated in our nervous systems for this time together. And maybe just notices if there is some resistance or some challenging sensations or thoughts in your body, and perhaps just see if you can send it a little bit of warmth and acceptance. Nowhere else to go or be. And perhaps we'll just take a couple of nice deep belly breaths together. Perhaps the deepest breaths you've taken all day, breathing in and out. And in. And out. Lovely. Maybe just have a little wriggle, fingers and toes, bring yourself back in whatever way is meaningful to you. Okay. Okay. So, welcome. It's lovely to see you all on this glorious day. And we are going to talk a little bit and dream in a little bit to equinox. But I'm imagining perhaps the star of the show is Amanita muscaria, who is a plant spirit medicine I've been, well, a fungi, not a plant, but a spirit medicine that I've been intrigued by probably since my 20s, but actively in the last 4 years, and I'm 50 now. So I've got a little presentation to share with you, which will explore some of the things that I've been finding out about Amanita. And I know some of you have already been working with Amanita, so perhaps there'll be a little bit of time to share. Also, I'm from a transpersonal therapeutic background, so wanting to really engage with the meaningful side of this, as well as the left brain kind of components of the medicine and some of the things that we need to be thinking about. There has been a very long history of human connection with Amanita muscaria. So yeah, I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully, despite what's going on in the cosmos and the retrogrades right now, it's going to work. So let's have a look. So perhaps could somebody unmute and just tell me if you can see that, or give us a thumbs up. Ah, fantastic. Thanks, guys. Okay. So you probably already know that this is how Amanita muscaria looks. A white and red mushroom with the red dots on it. Absolutely iconic. If you ask a child to draw a mushroom, they are likely to draw this mushroom, a spotty mushroom. So we're going to delve in a little bit as to why. Why is this mushroom everywhere, even in the consciousness of our children? So Amanita muscaria grows in the northern hemisphere from late summer, autumn and into winter. Probably one of the last fungi that flowers or fruits for the close of summer and autumn. It's found in high and low land and often between pine or beneath pine and birch trees, which is very interesting in itself, as you will find out later with some of the links with Father Christmas. It's been used in spiritual practice for probably hundreds of thousands of years. We have cave paintings which are around 6,000 years old, but as with many other entheogenic or psychedelic medicines, the thought is that perhaps humans have been working with entheogenic plants and fungi for millennia, and this is perhaps part of our evolutionary growth. Yeah, it's very intriguing to look into some of the history. Many animals as well as humans love to consume this mushroom, reindeer, birds and other mammals. The ibotenic acid, which is very present in the fresh mushroom, kills flies, hence the name. So often people would use a saucer of milk and sprinkle some Amanita in there as a kind of fly trap. There are about 600 species of agarics, and some of them are deadly. The death cap, for instance, which is not red. It's more similar to another spirit medicine, which is pantherina. It looks more similar to that. So probably best to avoid that. And obviously, as with any mushrooms, you need to know how to identify. And I'm not going to go into the ID, but there's a ton of mycologists and people that really know their stuff out there. So I would encourage you to look at those if you're thinking of foraging for Amanita yourself after this. I really want to honour the tribes of Siberia because really, in terms of living traditions with Amanita muscaria, they have been the most recent carriers of this medicine. I haven't been able to find out too much about how much this is still used in Siberian tribal culture, but here is Tatiana Urkachen, I hope I'm saying her name correctly, and she identified as a 7th generation shaman. There are some film footages of her from 1994, which I have links to and I can share with you. And she was in her 70s at that time, so I think, you know, she'll be passed on at this time. But in Siberia, the name for Amanita muscaria is Mukamor, and there's also a beautiful film featuring Tatiana, the Song of Mukamor, which I can give you a link to. So the other places that Amanita muscaria shows up in the Vedas, in the Sanskrit. In Japan, it's seen as a kind of delicacy, so it is eaten as a delicacy actually, despite its hallucinogenic properties. In paintings in the Saharan rocks from the Paleolithic period, in Guatemala in South America, in the Mayan civilizations, all kinds of places. Celtic Europe in the witch's flying ointment, which is one of probably around, they think, 15 different herbs, including datura and henbane, the kind of witching herbs that was used in Celtic Europe and as part of a fertility ritual. And there are books that talk much more about that, which are also in my resources. And also there's a question about the Greek mysteries, the Eleusinian mysteries and ceremonies, although most people think it was to do with ergot, which is the LSD kind of fungus that comes from a grain. There are many people that also think that probably the soma, the sacramental psychedelic liquid that was given in that ceremony, was a combination of various different entheogenic components. A lot of people may think this is really weird, and I love etymology, and weird, originally spelt with a Y, translates as fate and destiny from Indo-European roots. I think it's interesting when we consider what is weird in our current culture and look a bit more deeply into the lineage of those things and reclaiming something of our own indigenous practices, which, as we know, were cut off and changed into something. I mean, a lot of stories and practices and myths that travelled across the continents, didn't they? But if we really look, they're still there, and it is really exciting, and I feel very passionate about reconnecting to some of our indigenous practices, particularly in this time when it's so needed. So here are some of the beautiful cave paintings I've come across so far. I absolutely love this Algerian figure here. So they think that, you know, as with all of these things, you get different people saying, you know, 7,000 or 9,000. You know, people don't always agree on the length of time, but we can say they are many thousands of years old. And here in Siberia, this is more of an Amanita looking mushroom, male and female figures. And here in Spain, mushrooms. That's some of the sculptures in pre-Columbia. And also this one I hadn't come across until recently, which is depicting Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, and his ascension to heaven. I haven't been able to find much about that, but I have found one paper and I have linked that on the resources for anybody that would like to find out more. Also in ancient Christian churches, so this one in Germany, you can clearly see the Amanita. It is thought that Amanita muscaria is perhaps one of the original sacraments. You can also see on the right here in France in this 13th century mural that the tree of life depicted on the left is actually a large Amanita, still with the serpent. And you may know that the serpent has represented the feminine and death and rebirth in many, many cultures. And here we have Adam and Eve covering their bodies, their modesty. And here, a beautiful mural from 300 AD in Italy of the mushrooms. Or some mushrooms, but they are red mushrooms. And here in Canterbury, I took this from the Psychedelic Gospels. I'm still waiting for my copy to arrive, but you can see on the right the Amanita muscaria there. Yeah, and even in the clothing. So some people feel or think that a lot of the Christian clothing that priests and bishops will wear, the red and white, is linked to the sacrament of Amanita. And also to our friend Father Christmas, Santa Claus. Much of the symbolism is very similar to aspects of Siberian life, where Amanita muscaria would be given at winter solstice as a present and often put down the chimneys or the smoke holes of the houses because there was so much snow. And I have a lovely little film here, which I'm just going to check the time. We can see if it will play. If it doesn't play, I can send it to you. But it's kind of reiterating much of what I've already shared with you. So here's a little bit about the science. So there are many compounds in Amanita muscaria, but the main compounds that we're kind of interested in is the ibotenic acid and the muscimol. There's a lot of ibotenic acid when it's fresh, and you absolutely wouldn't want to be ingesting Amanita muscaria when it's fresh. Certainly not more than a little tiny piece, I have been told. I personally would not do that myself. Apparently the berserkers used to ingest fresh Amanita before going to war because it just kind of makes you crazy, basically. Sweating, nausea, and shaking and vomiting. So in the body, the ibotenic acid is turned into muscimol, and muscimol works on the GABA receptors, which creates a kind of sedative, hypnotic and calming effect. For some people, they might see images. Some people might have dreams, evocative dreams. For some people, it feels quite heart-opening, quite warm and loving. It can be quite subtle, unless you take a macro dose, and I'm not very experienced with that. So, yeah, all of the advice that I've read or heard is that we should go very slowly if you are planning on working with Amanita muscaria as a medicine. It's kind of interesting to me that some of the conditions and people that might be screened out of psychedelic trials and processes at the moment, because I'm also at the moment I'm doing a training in psychedelic assisted therapy. Some of the people who are not able to currently access that therapy may have conditions like schizophrenia and seizures. And yet it's interesting because Amanita muscaria works on those pathways. There's not a great deal of studies existing at the moment. And when I asked an academic who's working in this field about that, he said he thinks it's because the mushroom is so unpredictable, because there's different amounts of compounds in different mushrooms, and people need a different level of dose. So there's lots of question marks, and I think actually it may well be that it doesn't ever work as part of that kind of modern day psychedelic movement, and may always stay better within more of a community-led shamanic style process and work, which may not be a bad thing. So what happens is that there's a process called decarboxylation where the ibotenic acid turns into muscimol. It's about the preparation, basically, and the Siberian people may have drunk the urine of the reindeer that had eaten mukamor, or even the urine of the shaman that had eaten mukamor. But they would also use fermentation as a process to create more of the muscimol, and we can do this by drying, then heating in water, and then adding something acidic like fruit juice, lemon juice. So if you were to make a tea that way, that would give you about a 50-50 conversion, which for microdosing is a good level. Although you may be a person that needs more ibotenic acid. I'm not. I get quite, it's not really anxiety, but it's more of a buzzy feeling, and I have to be careful with that because it can invigorate my system, which feels a little bit like drinking too much coffee, but different. So you need to start small, and you need to just really tune into your system. There might be other things, like if you have too much stomachache, if it affects your stomach, then that's probably too much ibotenic acid. If you're struggling to awaken, it may be that there's too much muscimol. It's quite a process, and there are some people on the internet working with this now. And again, I've got books and people that I can direct you to if this is something that you're interested in. But just to give you a little overview. So it's important to look at the legalities, and these may be changing all the time. So watch out, because if this is something you do want to explore, at the moment it is legal here, unlike other psilocybin-based psychedelics, because there's no psilocybin in Amanita muscaria. It's listed as a deliriant rather than a hallucinogen. It kind of surprised me where it is illegal, places like Australia and the Netherlands, because in Australia now they've legalized some psychedelics for clinical use. That may change, obviously. And the Netherlands, again, you can work with some psychedelics in a kind of a personal development frame, but not as a medicine, not in clinical use. And unfortunately, for anybody who's interested in working with Amanita muscaria, Lithuania, where they were a great provider of dried Amanita, unfortunately, it's now become illegal for them to pick, dry, or sell. So keep a check on that. So now there is a growing interest, and I've been following people online and looking into it for about 4 years. There are things starting to develop here in the UK, learning how to work with the medicines, make the medicines. I think this is, it feels very important part of our human evolution at this time. I think we're, it's so chaotic out there, isn't it? There's so much going on that it feels that a lot of people are being called back to working with entheogens and herbal medicines and spirit medicines. And I was lucky enough to attend a retreat with a Polish lady called Agnieszka Lakus. Again, I can link you with her, and I'm hoping to start offering some work with her. We're just in the early stages of talking about collaboration, and this is one of her beautiful art pieces on the right here. So how do we work with Amanita muscaria? Unique, wild and untamable. I think, as with any herbal medicine and spirit medicine, we need to work with, we need to know how to prepare it, we need to work with it with respect, think about how we're supported it around us, how we're going to integrate it, knowing how to ID. It just feels there's a kind of a almost evangelical rush to kind of reconnect to this medicines, which I totally get, because I think things are feeling quite desperate in the world for a lot of people. But without our indigenous lineage, it feels really important that we take our time, we be with others, we try as much as we can to know our stuff. And working with these medicines in a way, I think we're just truly wired for meaning, which is why I chose a transpersonal psychotherapy to training. I think we need meaning. So not just a medicine, not just something we're knocking back, but maybe a more animist approach of working with Amanita muscaria as a being, which is what our ancestors and many of the indigenous living traditions are still doing. So I have created a thread on Telegram, which is a community of practice thread for anybody working with Amanita muscaria or interested in working with Amanita muscaria. There's a place to share and exchange. It hasn't been going long, but you'd be very welcome to join that if you haven't already. Going gently, listening, taking breaks, and seeking advice, particularly if you're on any medications that work with the GABA pathways. Alcohol and Amanita muscaria do not seem to mix well. People apparently get quite sick with that. And I think there are also some herbs that work on the GABA pathways which you would need to avoid. So make contact with somebody you trust, a medical professional or herbal professional you trust, to just work any of that out. So that's pretty much it. I think I've kind of said all of that already. And, my experience is that Amanita muscaria is a beautiful medicine spirit. I feel there is so much to learn. Sometimes it feels really overwhelming, but I also feel so drawn to working with this mushroom. And it does appear that quite a few others are too. And obviously it's not illegal in this country, which really helps. So if you have any questions, we can speak about those now, and I'll try my best to answer them. And if I don't know the answer, I will find it out and get back to you. And if you're interested, you could join the Telegram thread, and also you're on my mailing list now. So if I am creating any online or face-to-face processes with Amanita muscaria, then you would hear about those. Here's all my resources, got a few pages of those. I'm kind of using this as a place to store them for myself as well. And thank you very much. That's my presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Sorry that that video didn't work, but I'll make sure that you have that. Does anybody have any questions? If you want to raise your hand, and if not, that's absolutely fine. Okay, great.
You said that you don't have much experience in macro dosing.
Oh, macro dosing? No.
Do you
I haven't taken a very strong dose, a macro dose. I have only taken strong micro doses, if I'm sort of on the cusp, if you like. And I did that in a group of 20 people where we were working, you know, and there were people there to be alongside us if we needed anything. So yeah, that's not something I'm wanting to do alone at this point. So I'm microdosing, and I'm using tinctures, and I've also bought some dried Amanita muscaria so that I can explore tea. Yeah.
So it was with the Psychedelic Society, yeah, in Wales.
Yeah, so last year the Psychedelic Society, I think they ran one the previous year before. So the previous year was with an American woman, Amanita Dreamer, who is from a chemist background, and she's done a lot of exploration and understanding the science.
And she does the macro dosing, as far as I understand.
She does microdosing and macrodosing, and she sort of goes around the world doing ceremonies. So she was in Wales a couple of years ago, and then last year it was Agnieszka. And this year they don't appear to be running one, which is a shame.
But it's still on their program. I found it somewhere. That's strange. Okay.
Is it the date from last year? Is it still the same date?
Maybe. I just remember that I studied the program, but I'm not sure which one it was. It was probably...
Okay. I'll have a look. As far as I know, they're not offering one of those this year, which is a shame. But so I will let you know if I hear any different. And also I may offer one with Agnieszka ourselves. That's what I'm starting to talk to her about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah, I put my hand up.
Oh, great. Hello.
Hello. I was wondering a couple of things. One, if there's a definition of a macrodose, and two, the advice against mixing with alcohol, but that doesn't apply to tinctures then?
No, because it's such a small amount of alcohol. What they're talking about is a lot of alcohol. So if you were drunk, like anybody that's died, which has been very few, has died because they were very drunk and ingested probably a raw mushroom or ingested a lot of raw mushroom. And
so it's not an alcohol herb interaction per se.
Well, I think
so you can extract with alcohol, you just wouldn't consume large amounts of alcohol with.
So basically, if you were to take a dried mushroom and mix it with alcohol, in the process of drying, you're reducing the ibotenic around 30%. So you would have 70% ibotenic acid and 30% muscimol, plus the other compounds, which they don't really seem to feature in this kind of way. So what you would get is a tincture that you would make like any other herbal tincture and let it steep for a number of weeks, but in the dark, not in the light. And what you would get with the ibotenic acid is a sort of an upper. So some people, this is all anecdotal evidence now, and there's a really good book by a woman called Baba Masha who had 3,000 volunteers giving their experiences as part of her study. So that's a good one to get. That For some people, like for me, it can be, that's too much ibotenic acid for me. It makes me a bit jittery and a bit uncomfortable. I can tolerate a little bit. If I'm really tired, I might just have a bit of that and it will give me a bit of, a bit of support. But some people who have kind of ADHD experiences and they're wired that way might get some support from that. It can make you feel more creative, more clarity. And then the more conversion you do, so using the water, another way of making the tincture, which I haven't tried yet, but Amanita Dreamer talks about this, is that you very slow cook the Amanita to reduce it, and then you just use the vodka or whatever high content alcohol to preserve it. So you don't steep the mushroom in the alcohol, so you've got a strong muscadol because you maybe added your lemon juice as well. And the guy that I've been buying some of, he tries different conversions, and one of them where he's from a chefing background, so he dries the Amanita, he sous vide the Amanita with lemon juice, then he ferments it, and then he puts that with some alcohol. So he's exploring the different conversions. That would be a very high muscadol conversion. He says 100%, but I don't think he's had it tested, but it's very high. So yeah, it's quite a process to A, learn how to prepare it, but B, to kind of tune in to what you need, I think. And that might change from one day to the next as well. It might be that you feel you need a little bit more ibotenic one day and you want to go into more of a dream state and maybe even some lucid dreaming and do more of a muscimol conversion another time. Amanita Dreamer, I can't do this because I have kids and it's one of my terrors that they're going to take ice cubes that are Amanita Muscaria and put them in their, juice or something, which would be terrible. But she talks about creating your tea, not putting the lemon juice in, freezing it as ice cubes, and then you can just use the ice cubes and add the lemon juice as you go. So I think that's a really good idea, as long as nobody's going to mistake your Amanita ice cubes and put them in their gin and tonic or their juice. Yeah, so she prefers the tea to the tincture, but obviously the tincture is useful because you can take it around with you.
Can I ask something else? Is there information about the solubility of the alkaloids, the compounds in alcohol versus water?
There's an amazing book, which I'm sure would really help you with that, which I'm still wading through, and it's on my list, which is a compendium. So there are many, many practitioners and scientists who've collaborated on this book, and it's about the history, the pharmacology, the mythology, and the exploration. So that's a really good book, although I've only been wading through it, so I haven't read it all, and some of it in terms of the preparation it's different to what some other people would say, but I think there's some really good stuff in there. I don't know the answer to that question on the science side, but this is the book. I was talking at the Baba Masha book, and this is filled with her study and her different people's responses. So I think those are really brilliant go-to books, and they're on my list, so you will get those and then you can find out. And I'm sure with your herbal background you'll be able to understand a lot of the science, Stefan, and I'd love to hear that in the thread, because that's not my bag. So yeah,
I mean, they don't appear to be, well, Siberia, but not particularly Southeast Asia, where most of the mushrooms, the plant mushrooms, come from Southeast Asia. But Amanita does appear to be more northern climes.
Absolutely.
Do you mind final thing, do you mind just repeating what you understand to be the main actions of ibotenic acid versus muscimol? So they have different properties, right?
Yes. So this is what I've learned through my time with Agnieszka, but also from Amanita Dreamer. So a lot of people feel that the ibotenic acid is quite a stimulating part of the mushroom. So clarity, more creativity, more energy. And for some people with ADHD, they report support with their ADHD symptoms in a way that they might get from some of the ADHD medications that are available. Also, as you probably know, there are other medicinal mushrooms that aren't psychoactive that also seem to help people with ADHD that are all over the internet, although I can't comment on how good they are. But so that's the ibotenic acid. And then the muscimol is a sedative, relaxant. If you know about the science, it turns to glutamate and it works on the GABA receptors. So can help with sleep. Too much muscimol does feel like it can take people to quite dark places sometimes. So that's why to go steady, because I think on the shamanic side, it does feel like the muscimol can take you into more of a underworld place. So I think Agnieszka and other people I've heard say, don't rush too quickly into doing a strong muscimol experience, because they can be, they're amazing, but they can be quite dark. So for me, a 50-50 is an awesome microdose. And from what I've read, it's quite a lot in comparison to other medicinal mushrooms, but up to 5 grams for a microdose, and up to 15 grams for a macro dose. That's what I've read. I've seen that in more than one place. But I think, and this is how Amanita Dreamer does it, I've heard, if somebody's starting to feel sick, she'll say, stop the tea and start smoking it. Because with the heat of the smoking, then you're getting more muscimol. And I have to say that I've only smoked it once at this retreat, but I really enjoyed smoking it, mixed with other herbs. Yeah, and then you can make a balm out of it. The balm would probably be more ibotenic, because you would dry the mushroom, but then steep it in the oil and then make your balm. And you can infuse it into oil, but again, it's probably more ibotenic. I've also heard that people will infuse into milk, and this is the Vedas, the Soma. I haven't tried that, but I have heard that it's very strong and to be afraid and to just go gently. So yeah, I mean, it's huge. It just feels like you could give your life to researching this, and maybe I will. But that's pretty much what I know so far. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody else want to ask a question or share anything that you know? Oh, Laura's back again. Hi, Laura. Come on in.
Yeah, so you said smoking it. And I remember like 2 months ago, I bought the dry mushrooms
Okay.
and the tincture.
Mm-hmm.
I bought the tincture with load. So I will first share how I have been using it. So the Blue Lotus, they suggest all pipette in the tincture, and you suggested just 6 drops of the Amanita. So I was following this together in the evening for sleeping.
Okay.
And now I think I'm doing more Amanita, but I'm not doing it like regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's really nice. So I'm like, sometimes I do it like 4 or 5 nights, and then I say, no, I don't want to get addicted or used to it. But it really made a difference to both dreams, and I stopped bothering about recording the dreams, or just, I was very curious.
Mm-hmm.
So it did improve my sleep quality, definitely. So I can get up much earlier and do my exercises. So thank you,
Oh,
Hayden.
wow. Well, that's brilliant.
And the
Yeah.
question is, because I remember I bought a pack of the dried mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I never use them because I'm lazy to prepare the tank.
Uh-huh.
So if you would like to smoke it, and I'm not a smoker, so that may be a problem.
Sure. No, it's okay, actually. I mean, I don't smoke tobacco.
I would love to. I would
But
love to. So
actually, I really enjoyed smoking it. I could have
so
smoked
do
with.
you just beat it into powder?
I think with powder it would probably fall out. So what we did was we used one of those coffee grinders, those electronic coffee grinders,
Yes, I have
which
that.
kind of macerates it into pieces. And then we got some of those, they're kind of pre-rolled. I'd never seen them before. They're like pre-rolled cones. And then we used other herbs. I'm trying to remember. We definitely had lavender, mugwort. What else did we have? I mean, you could pretty much smoke any herb with it that wasn't going to cause you either a contra indication, don't smoke other GABA herbs, perhaps. But
And sorry, is cannabis well with very
yeah,
low?
everything I've read said that cannabis kind of cancels it out. So
Okay.
people who have smoked cannabis or been working with cannabis oil or what have you, within 2 weeks of taking Amanita, they don't really feel much. And anyway, Amanita muscaria, it's not gonna smack you over the head like psilocybin. It's much more subtle for me. It feels like it's around the edges, and so the advice that I have heard is that you should stay away with from cannabis. Just trying to think of what other herbs, but I can put this on an email anyway. But yeah, so then you mix your herbs in and sprinkle with your Amanita from time to time, and that's it. Although some people also have talked about using, is it called a hookah, the water
Yeah.
bong, because it can be quite harsh. But I didn't find it harsh at all, as long as you don't put too much lavender in, which is really harsh to smoke. And I really enjoyed it. So we went into ceremony. We took the tea, which we'd prepared together, and we'd put our intentions into the tea using different mushrooms to kind of try and iron out the amounts of the compounds. And then we smoked and drummed and sang and told each other stories, and it was very, very cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And I apologize, I will have to leave in 10 minutes because I have a client. So I will.
no problem. Thank you, and
There is
good
a
to see you.
record. There will be a recording,
There's going
yeah?
to be a recording, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll send other bits and bobs as well. Okay. All right. So I think that's us. We've got half an hour left, and I would love it if you were willing to do a kind of inner journey and maybe set some equinox intentions for ourselves and maybe for the world, because there's so much going on at the moment, and just have a little moment together, maybe to encounter Amanita. As we know, this time of equinox is a time of balance in the northern and southern hemisphere, and we could really do with that balance right now. And let's just come back to our bodies, maybe everything that's been swirling around from all that information. Yeah, might want to have a little stretch. I'm gonna light a little bit of mugwort, which, if you didn't know, is a really lovely smoke cleanser, like our version of white sage. Honouring our ancestors, healed and unhealed. Maybe calling in any support if you work with guides or whatever your practices are. Some support. And if you are willing to descend into a journey together, be taking some breaths as you imagine or see yourself on the edge of a woodland of some kind. Perhaps you have bare feet and can feel the earth beneath your soles. Just notice, what's the air like there? How does it touch your skin? Just notice what you can hear, perhaps other creatures or the creaking of branches. But this feels familiar and calm. And perhaps you feel a sense of peace in your body as you start to walk into the woodland. And as you approach the woodland and the trees, you notice a little clearing ahead. Perhaps it's a clearing where people have gathered, and there's a fire pit there where things have happened. People have sat there in circle. And you feel it there, in that place. Perhaps you have a sense of your ancestors or ancestral spirits there. You feel calm and relaxed. And then, looking around, you notice a circle of red and white spotty mushrooms somewhere in this space. So perhaps go over and have a look at them. Maybe you'd like to sit with them. Crouch down and have a good look. How is it to be with this mushroom, Amanita muscaria? What do you feel in your body? Just notice. Perhaps there are some images that come to you. perhaps some information comes to you in feelings or thoughts, sensations or images. Just notice. And from one of these mushrooms, a being starts to emerge and stands or hovers before you. Take that being in. Perhaps there's a way you'd like to be in contact with that being, or not. Maybe you just prefer to be alongside them. This spirit of Amanita, Muscaria. Does this being have a gender or not? Really notice how the essence of this being is in contact with you and your essence of being. And if it feels right for you, perhaps there's something you'd like to ask this being, the spirit of Amanita Muscaria. And if so, ask that now. And perhaps there's something that the spirit of Amanita Muscaria wants you to know. Perhaps something you haven't thought about yet. And if so, receive that now. And take it in. And perhaps the fairies and the pixies, often associated with the Amanita Muscaria, are around. Or other creatures and beings watching this connection you're having. And know that you can come back and meet with Amanita anytime you wish. And before we say our goodbyes with this being, Just see if something wants to arise in you or drop down into you. Something around this theme, this time of equinox and balance. Something which wishes to be birthed through you, arise from you for this world at this time. And you might see that as an image or a symbol. Just trust what comes. What you feel. And perhaps in this emergence of spring towards summer, there's something that you need for your own well-being. Just see if something comes in. Something's calling. And this being still alongside you as you do this work, this sacred work. Really allow yourself to embody any of this wisdom or information that has come to you or been gifted to you by Amanita Muscaria. Even if it's a surprise. And find a way to thank this spirit being of Amanita Muscaria. As it draws back into the mushrooms beneath the trees. And perhaps you might like to leave a little offering of thanks or a blessing or something that you found there as a gift of respect and exchange for this wisdom that you've been given. And with that, you're going to say goodbye to this clearing, this ancestral clearing, knowing you can come back any time you like. You are welcome here. And walking back through the trees, away from the clearing, back to the open space beyond, the sounds of the creatures and the creepy crawlies and the gentle swaying of branches creaking. And finding yourself in the place that you started now. Turn back to take one last look at this place, this sacred place. And feeling your feet on the earth, and it come back into your body. Wherever you are sitting now or lying, feeling yourself in contact with this place. Maybe taking some nice deep breaths and wriggling your toes, your shoulders, and when you're ready, coming back to your room. And if you would like to, just take a couple of moments to scribe anything that came out of that for you. Then you can do that now. Or just let it settle. If you don't want to write, just feel it. And just starting to wrap that up. Okay. Thank you. I wonder if you brought a candle, if we could light that now together to acknowledge this time of equinox and balance, the sun coming back to us in the northern hemisphere and the balance in the north and the south, but also to bring some light into some of the challenges of being human at this time on this planet. And I wonder if we could one by one light our candles, and if you are willing, and this is obviously an invitation, just to share something small from your journey, perhaps something that you're wanting to name for yourself or for the world at large, something that you want to call in at this time of equinox and chaos, quite frankly, in the world. So I'm going to light my candle. And what I would like to call in is a slowing down for myself and our culture that I forever feel is pushing, pushing, pushing. And the older I get, and this menopausal process I'm in, I just can't do that anymore. And sometimes I feel I'm making myself quite poorly. So in this time of balance, I'm sending out a call for a slowing down, which can allow a deeper sense of clarity and consciousness so that I and others can make better decisions, or the best decisions going forward. So I'd like to invite you to name something. If you were happy to unmute, and if you really don't want to speak, that's absolutely fine, but perhaps you can just light your candle and hold it up so that we're all together, holding our flames together. Steph, it looks like you're getting ready.
I'm going for it, yeah.
You go for it.
Yeah, so I'm lighting my candle. Oh, and I've blown it out now. More matches. That was my last match.
Oh, heck.
But I have another.
Great.
So, endings. And another full box. Beginnings. I'm taking care to blow out the match. So, I'm with the peace of that journey, the stillness and the calm, and a sense of being in a transitional space, and between worlds. And so in this place of seeing both sides, and bringing those sides together, so there is harmony and there is peace. So stepping away from the duality that we know. So here we are with peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing in peace. Anybody else like to offer anything to our weaving together? Intentions this.
I have a candle. I would just like to offer Alban Eiler spring equinox blessings to all of us and all that we love in this season, this time of change, time of equal day and night, as we shift from the relative hardship of winter to the moving towards the time of plenty in the small cycles and the big cycles. So many blessings to all of us and all that we love.
Thank you. And to you.
I was going well, yeah, when we did the meditation, I think the main message was to trust in love and not thinking it showed me this very slow, gentle love rather than the sort of passionate, reactive love, and just, yeah, it's very calm and non-dramatic, and to model that and share that with other people. And also the thoughts coming up that to sit also with all the awkwardness and grief, and not just, yeah, it's like that balance of sitting with the awkwardness, not being reactive to everything. We don't need to, like you said, slower, and moving towards something, and also just trusting in other people and community, and talking to people we wouldn't talk to normally. Just, yeah, I think that's that.
It's a beautiful combination. Thank you. Love, connection, peace, and blessings. Thank you.
My journey was very much about coming home, coming back to the familiar, to my roots, to what feels safe, and coming back to a sense of belonging, and coming back to the heart, really. So what I would like to offer is now at this equinox, where we're at the brink of coming out into the world again, and sharing ourselves with the world from this authenticity and belonging, and finding a balance between our inner worlds and outer worlds. Blessings.
Blessings. Thank you. What a rich container that feels for everything that we've all shared And I hope that this connection with Amanita Muscaria continues to grow and expand for you in whatever way is meaningful. And for anybody that's been with us on the recording, that you are honoured here with us and part of our circle. And I'm going to invite us not to blow our candles out right now, but perhaps to just leave it on for as long as feels comfortable for you after the session. And that in the smoke, as you blow the candle out, all of our intentions fly off into the world. And thank you so much for being here. So yeah, if you want to put your candle somewhere safe. Well, we just have a few more minutes. So I guess I'd just like to check if anybody has any further questions before we close. And I will send you the slides which have all my links for you to enjoy if you wish. So if that's not something you want in your inbox, just unsubscribe as you wish. But I send out a kind of a new moon container. Sometimes I offer other free events like this, or sometimes paid events. I'm working towards doing some online processes together and also some face-to-face, some working with Amanita, some mixed gendered groups, some women's groups. And also, if you're really interested in Amanita and that's your thing, I have posted in the chat some of the links. If you're not signed up already to the Amanita community practice page, have Telegram, then you'll be able to find that. You might need to download Telegram otherwise to be able to access it. In there, we have a growing group of herbalists, therapists, enthusiasts, and psychedelic medicine practitioners, some from more of a shamanic lineage and some more from the medical emergent psychedelic field. And you should be able to see all the history on Telegram, so I know you can't on some of the others. So please feel free to join and share, and we're building up a nice kind of database of information there. So thank you so much for being with me today on this glorious equinox here. I hope you have lovely sunshine wherever you are too, and whatever time this is for those that are watching. Shall we just say 1 or 2 words each just to check out? Just maybe put a hand on your belly and your chest, just see if there's anything final you might just like to name about how you're feeling. So I'm feeling calm, and I am feeling nourished by being with you all. Thank you.
I'm feeling very much rooted and very much connected. Thank you, Marisa. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm feeling very calm, as you're saying, and centered, and gratitude. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Intrigued and fascinated.
Me too.
Just like to say thank you for a lovely interlude in my afternoon. I think I will need to go outside and see the sun.
Yeah.
And the
So
trees.
with you. Yeah. Me too. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Go well, everyone. Wishing all of your inspirations and projects and seeds grow, and I'll maybe see you down the road somewhere somehow.